Picture this, you in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by Disney characters, free food, and also 4,000 of your closest friends. Disney cruises may not be for everyone, so we asked our readers what could convince you to take a Disney cruise instead of going to Disney World.
We have got a very fun topic today, one that all four of us are incredibly familiar with because we have all done this and we all love it. We're talking about Disney cruises. This is kind of a different kind of experiencing a Disney vacation from what, we always talk about at the parks and stuff like that. Cruises are very, very fun, and Disney cruises can sometimes be just as magical as the parks. But if you're choosing between a trip to Disney World and a Disney cruise, that can be really difficult. Do you go with what you love or has so much more? You don't want to be trapped on a ship, or do you go on a Disney cruise and experience something new, or maybe do it again and have this more closed, more secular experience? Who knows? The question we asked our readers today was, what would convince you to take a Disney cruise instead of going to Disney World? And I want to hear what they said. I want to hear weigh-ins from you guys. So Fry Bucket, what do you think? What do you think is one of those aspects that can convince people to take a Disney cruise?
I think along with, going to Disney World and a Disney cruise, anything Disney related, the price is going to be a big component of your decision making. For any vacation in general, price is very important. So before we get into all of everything that Disney Cruise Line has to offer, we do need to talk about price. Obviously, price is in the eye of the beholder, okay? Many of our readers said that they would much rather do a Disney cruise over a trip to Disney World because of how inexpensive a cruise is compared to Disney World. But we also have to acknowledge the fact that Disney Cruise Line is a lot more expensive than most other cruise lines. So that's something else that we're going to have to talk about. However, like RJ has said before, it's the price of magic, okay?
RJ original quote.
Our reader Angel B said, price, the cost of a balcony cabin on Disney is crazy expensive. I can cruise on another line, plus do the parks for a week for that price. So that's a good point to remember. Disney Cruise Line is on the higher end of cruise offerings, but remember, it's all about what you get out of the experience, not just the price to walk onto the ship. For the Disney Cruise Line, a 3-night Bahamian cruise in June will run you close to $5,000. For Royal Caribbean, prices are going to start dipping. You can get a 3-night Bahamian cruise for your family for around $3,000. And then the last cruise line that we'll compare to, Carnival Cruises, you can get a 3-night trip to the Bahamas for as low as $1,500 with a discount deal from Carnival. Obviously, those prices are a lot cheaper than Disney. However, Disney caters to all people. They cater to families, they cater to little kids, they cater to adults, they cater to teenagers. Whereas some of these other cruise lines aren't super family friendly, if you catch my drift. It's more catered towards adults, people who are going to probably drink a lot, all of those kinds of the nightly shows aren't catered towards kids, all of those kinds of things is everything that you have to consider. So I want to know, has anyone else done a cruise that isn't Disney that we could compare our experience? Ooh, Emma.
I did the cheapo Carnival cruise for my bachelorette trip because I am trying to ball on a budget almost always in life. And I will say, compared to the recent cruise that Fry and I went on, it was so noticeable, just even standing outside the ship, which is fine, but you're definitely going to be paying for quality and paying for Disney magic over paying for a really crowded ship that's quite a bit smaller, but maybe has a drinking package. That's the one thing that Carnival probably has over it other than price. But for me, if I can swing it, I'm almost always going to pay for Disney, having experienced both options.
I too have ventured outside of the Disney Cruise Line bubble, if you will. I'm a cruiser, y'all, okay? I have been on several Carnival and Royal Caribbean cruises. For me, it's kind of like hit and miss. I went on a Royal Caribbean cruise to Alaska, and it was pretty amazing. I gotta be honest. I don't know if it was just the destination, but and maybe because I was staying in suite class, but everything seemed amazing. It wasn't magical, if you understand. Disney cruises have elements of magic, but it was a good time. You know what I mean? So I get what you mean when you say that, Emma. Like it's a very different experience. It's really comparing apples to oranges. And it's just about, what type of, vacation you want to have and what kind of, do you want to go with your friends and just have what they call a booze cruise? Or are you looking for that Disney magical experience? And I think that's really what you pay for when you pay the more money for a Disney cruise. You pay for the characters, you pay for the magic, you pay for the castle on the sea.
Yeah, I think I am not a cruiser. I'm not a cruise person. That's not the vacation I typically pick. However, I have and will pick a Disney cruise as my vacation because I'm a Disney person. But I'm not cruises at face value don't appeal to me. Cruising is kind of there's cruise people and there's not cruise people. And if you're not cruise people, they don't appeal to you. But if you're not cruise people and you're a Disney person, then you might be thinking about a Disney cruise. And yeah, you can cruise at Disney for a little cheaper than some Disney vacations. And I'll say this, a whole lot less planning, but I think we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little.
I will say, bouncing off of Quincy's just a little bit, I don't compare Disney Cruise Line to other cruises. Like she said, I compare it to a Disney trip. Essentially, when it comes down to if I'm going on a Disney cruise, it's okay, well, I want to go on a Disney vacation, but do I want to relax or do I want to have a gauntlet of a trip where I am potentially exhausted when I come home?
Another one of our readers, Simon In, said the price can add up while on the cruise, especially for adults who like to have the occasional drink by the pool. No drinking package, like Emma said, whereas other cruise lines most likely do have a drinking package. So yes, it's true, Disney Cruise Line does not have any sort of drinking packages. I do believe they have a beer drinking package with a mug that you can bring back for cheaper drinks, but that's the extent of their drinking package. Cruise ships tend to lure you in with the term all-inclusive when that's not always the case. The cheapest option, Carnival, the shows, pools, and most of the food are free, but here is all the stuff you still have to pay for. That's pizza delivery, 24-hour room service, alcoholic and non-alcoholic bar beverages, aka soda is not free, the IMAX theater, the Thrill Theater, playing bingo, playing Deal or No Deal, the Sky Zone trampoline park, the Sea Coaster, all these activities that are on board, you're going to have to pay for after you're on the ship. So that's another thing to consider when comparing all of the cruise lines. However, Disney Cruise Line takes the term all-inclusive a little bit more seriously. Along with your stateroom price, you are going to get breakfast, lunch, and dinner included at the regular buffet, and dinner rotational dinings are included. That's not going to include the fancy restaurants like Palo or Remy's, those kinds of things. Soft drinks at meals are free. You've got refillable stations all around the ship, free soda, free ice cream, free soft serve at any time of day. I think that right there is worth it for me. Disney character meet and greets are free. Party days, they have themed whole days on the ship, like Marvel Day at Sea, Pixar Day at Sea, all of those kinds of activities. Water slides are free. Entertainment, the shows at night are free. Room service is completely free in your Disney Cruise Line room. You can order room service, no cost to you. And then Paula T said, please just lower the cost. Why does Disney think they can always get away with triple the pricing?
Our friend AJ from Disney Food Blog literally talks about when she took her son on a Disney cruise and all he wanted to do the entire time was ride the aqueduct. And you can't, or was it the Wish? It was the Aqua Mouse. You can't ride it with one person. So then she had to ride the Aqua Mouse for the entire cruise because her son wanted to. So that could be your reality. Your son could only want to ride the water coaster.
Nobody grew up with Royal Caribbean cruises. Nobody grew up with Royal Caribbean movies and theme parks. So that's part of the added experience. That's why they are more expensive. Disney is going to give you a magical experience. It's going to be different than all of those other cruises. Doing the little Muppet scavenger hunt that's just free in the lobby that Emma loves. All of those extra experiences truly do add up to overall give you a higher level of experience, and that's part of the Disney magic. Unfortunately, like we said at the beginning, magic comes with a price. So that's just something you're gonna have to consider. Is it worth it to you?
I think it's something that's not for everybody, because if you get your Disney magic dose just fine at Disney World, balling on a budget, staying at the All-Stars or staying off property, that's great. These cruises are super fun. They're also super, super expensive, and I mean, I went on a Disney cruise as a kid where it was too windy for us to get into Castaway Cay, which happens a lot. That's Disney's private island. And we didn't get to go to Castaway Cay, and our cruise was shortened by an entire day. And like, that's, wow, what a bummer on vacation. That said, I was 8, 9, and it's like that cruise is a core memory for me. I would tell you it's one of my favorite vacations I took of all time, even though my parents probably were like, this is horrible. But I didn't even know that our cruise got shortened a day. I had no idea. My parents just told me that like 2 months ago. So like, that magic does some serious work, like in creating like family memories and stuff that like, you know, you might always remember your Royal Caribbean cruise, but it doesn't like create the nostalgia that Disney does. But that doesn't mean that splurging for that is for everyone. If you're a cruise person, you might be just as happy on Royal Caribbean. Like, you might have just as good a time and spend $2,000 less on your stateroom. So the price is obviously like a make or break, probably the biggest make or break thing for Disney cruise for a lot of people. It certainly is for me. It's why I'm not on them all the time, not for work. But there are some other aspects that might make a Disney cruise something that you might choose over Disney World. Potentially, a lot of our readers said accessibility. Emma, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I think accessibility with any vacation is always really important, especially if it impacts you as much as it does some people. But in particular with cruises, accessibility is a huge, huge issue, especially because you don't know what that ship's going to look like necessarily until you get there. Even if you watch videos and look at photos, sometimes it's hard to conceptualize. So it's really hard to understand accessibility. So I think that's a big part of a Disney cruise line. I will say for almost all of Disney ships, almost all of the guest areas are fully handicap accessible. That includes the theaters, restaurants, and the shops. There are a few instances where guests might have to transfer, but that's going to be with something like a pool, but Disney provides tools that help you do that. Beth S. says if she knew how accessible the ships were, she would feel a little bit better about the cruise. Those tiny rooms don't seem big enough to accommodate someone who might need a wheelchair or a scooter. And we will say that there are actually wheelchair accessible staterooms that do provide those accommodations that you're concerned about. They have things like ramped bathroom thresholds, open bed frames, additional phones in the bathroom and on the nightstand in case you ever need that for emergencies. And the bathrooms and the showers even have handrails. They also offer selected scheduling for people on board with different activities that might need it. So it can be limited though for assistances such as going outside of the theater. You need to speak with a cast member at least 10 minutes before a show so that way they can assist you. So there are going to be times that you have to go out of your way to have that accessibility, but Disney can provide it. Annette J. said, our family dynamics have changed. We've done multi-generational trips to Disney World, but the grandparents are older and now they have mobility issues. And one of my daughters has health issues that make the heat and exertion of the parks really draining. That alone, I think, is one of the best parts about a Disney cruise. When we do some of our best days, a lot of you guys who watch them say, this looks fun, but when you guys run back and forth, that's not always something that I can do, or that's not something my parents can do when they come with me. So one thing that we really like about the Disney cruises is that you don't necessarily have to do that. You're not necessarily going to be standing in line for 80 minutes or quick walking through the entire park just to get to your next lightning lane. Disney Cruise Line actually offers multiple pools to cool down in from the heat and many indoor activities and restaurants, so that way you don't have to be out in the sun unless you want to be. As far as relaxing and indoor activities goes, they're accessible to almost every single person as long as you talk to a cast member that can help that be accessible for you.
I always talk to the people I'm going on vacation with. There's two types of vacation in my mind. There's a trip and there's a vacation, and they're very different. A trip is not restful. There's nothing restful about a trip. It might be fun. It might be a blast. But Disney World is most often a trip. You are going to be doing a lot. You're going to be out in the hot sun, and you're riding rides and eating heavy food and just having a blast. It's a trip. A Disney cruise is a vacation. You are going to be laying in a sun lounger. For sure, you're going to be laying in a sun lounger. Like, it's restful. You actually get a little rest, a little recuperation in a way that Disney World doesn't typically allow for the way most people travel. And when you've got actual accessibility issues, when you just are not wanting to have such a high strain vacation as Disney World, Disney Cruise still provides you that Disney magic without being like Emma said earlier, gauntlet of a trip.
My dad, famously anti-Disney. He does not like Disney World. He cannot conceptualize why you would pay so much money to be exhausted from what might be your only week of vacation all year.
And he's very proud of Emma for her job.
He is proud of me. He asked when I got this job, he goes, "You're sure you want to do that?" So that's how he feels about Disney. But he's always a good sport, I will say. But when we went on our Disney cruise as a family, I think that was the happiest he's ever been to be doing something Disney. Like, we all got to do things we wanted to do. There were excursions that my dad was interested in that he wouldn't get at Disney World. There's a lot of things that I think make Disney cruises more accessible to every member of your family, even if they're not necessarily Disney people. Now, of course, Disney is what you're paying for. You get that on the ship. But if your dad doesn't like Disney, he's going to still be happy there when he might not be as happy in the parks. The last one is from Chelsea H, and she says, "I have yet to do a Disney cruise, but if it's easier than planning a trip for Walt Disney World, then sign me up." Chelsea, you've come to the right place. You've come to the right team. We are type A people. We love, love, love to plan our Disney trips. However, it's like a luxury when you can just pay for something and then go. It's almost euphoric to me. And when it comes to Disney cruises, it is so much easier to plan. Like, there is no question, hands down, if you're picking out of easiest trips, you're going to want to pick a cruise line. One of the main draws is that Disney cruises are more relaxing, but of course, like we've already talked about, it is still overtly Disney. There are things you do need to plan in advance, like excursions or even the nursery if you want to drop your kiddos off for a little mom and dad time. But most of it, you can just show up. And that's a luxury that I think few Disney people have maybe experienced, unless you're the dad who didn't plan it or the kids who just showed up for fun.
I think one of the smart things to do when planning your Disney World cruise is to really think about, some of the excursions or experiences that you potentially may want to do. Disney offers a lot of fun things that you can do outside of the ship, whether it's like Fry Bucket, you want to run marathons around Castaway Cay, or dine at Palo, for brunch and have one of the most amazing meals I've ever had to this day. You definitely want to take that in consideration. And like Emma said, Disney goes out of their way to make sure that there are, excursions and special dining opportunities and things that you can do that will cater specifically to certain age groups and people's taste. And definitely dining is one of those. So I think we just need to be, when you're planning, be cognizant of, do I want to go swim with dolphins? Do I want to learn about the Disney art and all of the other options that may be available to you?
And I will say, going back to Chelsea H's quote about not planning her Disney World vacation, Chelsea, you really need to book a Disney cruise, because as much as we love planning for Disney World, planning a Disney World trip is necessary. You actually really can't plan for a Disney cruise. Like, you legitimately can't plan ahead, because when you download the Navigator app for your Disney cruise, nothing will be on it until you get on the ship. Like, you cannot see anything ahead of time until you are actively on the ship about to take off, which can be a blessing, can be a curse. Curse for Quincy, who needs a full detailed itemized spreadsheet about everything. But it's a blessing for me, where I just walk in, I'm like, all right, what are we gonna do?
What you got
Figure
for
it
me?
out. What you got for me, Mickey Mouse?
I just feel like this is the realm that I live in. I feel like on this cast, I'm just like the party guy. And the reason I say that is because a lot of our guests feel that there are just not enough adult experiences, and if they, what would sell a lot of our readers on booking a Disney cruise is having more adult experiences and it not just being for kids. Now, there's certainly a common misconception that Disney in general is just for kids, when we all know that Walt designed Disneyland to be a place of children of all ages can come and have fun. So like your grandma, your grandpa, your little baby, your newborn baby, trust me, I've seen it. I've seen people bring like babies that were born.
I've seen it too. I'll be like, that is the babiest baby I've ever seen.
I saw maybe a 2-day-old yesterday.
When I see a small child in Disney World, I always think, now which was planned first, the baby or the vacation?
The baby or the trip?
Yeah, yesterday the baby was definitely planned second because it was May the 4th, but it was dressed as Baby Yoda, and the mother was Leia. And it was amazing and adorable, but I will say, the smallest child I've ever seen in Disney World.
Brooke R says that she would come if more things than just trivia or bingo was available to adults. She put, our kids love Disney cruising. We think it's super boring. Brooke, I'm about to hook you up, girl. I'm about to hook you up. Listen, that kind of kept me from cruising initially too, because I was like, if you go on these other cruises, they're definitely more geared towards adults. And so, what is it for, adults to do? Your child is going to be, playing at the Oceaneers Club or, the different clubs on board. And, what are you going to do besides just play bingo? Which, by the way, bingo is such a vibe on the Disney cruise. Like, you will get your entire life playing bingo. But there's so many things to do. There's thriving nightlife. There's like nightclubs and lounges. And, like Fry said earlier, you can go ahead and have a cocktail making class. I think I did a martini tasting where we had all these interesting like martinis that would, just begging for you to drink them with your pinky out. Like, there's so many things to do. Okay. I was at the little silent disco getting my life. My husband was like, I'm going to bed. I was like, later, Grandpa. I went to the club and I was dancing by myself with some random ladies because I make friends wherever I go. So, in essence, I'm just saying there are so many things to do. There's adults only nighttime entertainment. But we certainly have found that the best cruise for adults is the Wish. And I know that y'all can speak to that. I haven't done the Wish yet. I'm still wishing that I go to the Wish. But, it does appear that there are more themed adult things on the Wish. It's been purposely designed with adults' vacation needs in mind, including more relaxation, more variety, more accessibility, and more storytelling than ever before.
I loved the Wish as an adult. And I just think that, like, for the other ships that I've been on, the adult spaces they don't feel Disney. Like, they're like, which, like, maybe that's a bonus. Maybe, like, if you are taking your kids because they love Disney, you might want to go on one of the other ships because the adult spaces have themes, but they're not really Disney themes. There might be a little Disney detail, but they're not very Disney. The Wish, their adult spaces are Disney. The Star Wars bar, the Beauty and the Beast bar, Princess and the Frog bar. It's very, very Disney spaces. The spa is bigger. There's an outdoor space to the spa. I ate at L'Enchante and Palo when we went, and both of those restaurants were absolutely spectacular. So, like, that adults only, like, the Wish really is great with their adults only areas. And I think if you're an adult who wants a little Disney magic, but in a way that's catered towards adults, the Wish has got you covered.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I think, honestly, my favorite part when we were on the Wish was us sitting at the Bayou, which is the Princess and the Frog themed bar lounge area. And there was live music. I could have sat there for hours, like just sitting there and just people watching, taking it all in. I think that was my favorite spot. Like, we hung out there. It was pirate night. We were dressed in our pirate outfits. We were just hanging out with Cassie from Disney Food Blog. And it was a great time.
Honestly speaking, you will not get some of the same experiences that you get on other cruise lines. Disney cruise lines do not have casinos. That's something that's pretty big on lots of other cruise lines. And you're not going to get that at Disney, but plan a trip to Vegas for that, okay?
Then use the hitting it big to go on a Disney cruise. I think this is bad advice.
That's actually a life hack.
Now, this next part is kind of controversial, and I kind of agree, okay? Our girl Grace E says, I love that my kids had a good time, but at one point, I was so overwhelmed with the amount of kids running through the hallway. Where are these kids' parents? Each of the Disney ships has at least one adult deck pool or jacuzzi, which I think is super convenient. And, it's nice because, parents, you will get a break, from your wonderful child who I'm sure you love. But, they're in the trusted hands of the incredible Disney staff, and you can relax and not have to, hear about, I want more ice cream. And, they'll have all
They
the
can
ice
just go
cream
get
they
the ice
want.
cream.
They can get it themselves, and you don't have to worry about dealing with their sugar high because they have trained professionals to deal with their sugar high. And you can just chill, get your whole life, and lay out and have a good time. A good time. Okay? Y'all, there's even an adults-only beach on Castaway Cay. Serenity Bay, no children. There are beautiful chairs that are just lounge chairs that are like actually in the water, y'all. I mean, it is like such a vibe. It is such a moment for you to just be at peace with nature and clear water. Get yourself a book. Have yourself a whole experience. Write a song. That's what
The best beach drink you've ever had. There's a drink on Castaway Cay called the Conch Cooler. And it's basically a frozen blended pog juice rum drink. And I have been trying to make it at home taste as good, and it's good. It's not as good. They're putting some Disney magic in it. Their blender works different than mine, I guess. I can't figure it out. Why won't mine taste as good?
Because you're not on the beach.
Because I'm not on the beach.
You're in the middle of Orlando.
I'm just sitting in my house.
The way she said Orlando.
You're in Orlando.
Let's be a little honest about Orlando.
Now, on the flip side, one of our readers is actually complaining about some of the spaces that the children have that the adults don't necessarily have access to. Brian S. said, I got a look at the kids club area and I was extremely disappointed. Not because it wasn't amazing, but because there wasn't something that cool that I could do with my daughter. Now, as we know, the kids club spaces are strictly for kids. On the first day, though, when you do go on your Disney cruise, that's your time to explore and check out that space. And to be honest with you, those kids spaces are like legit, yo.
Yeah.
Like, they're pretty amazing, especially on the Wish. I was looking at a video the other day and I was like, bro, what? You guys have a little like animal petting zoo with Star Wars characters? Like, that is super dope. So I completely get that. I know you guys can speak to that too.
Obviously, the kids clubs, I get super jealous because I'm like, I want to be 10. These kid clubs are cooler than anything available for me. Why am I not getting to hang out in the kids clubs? But also, like, I do think for a lot of people, it's nice to have a little break from your family on vacation, but vacation's about spending time with your kids, about spending time with your family. And what those Oceaneers clubs do is they make it so that you can't do that for your kids to be able to do the most fun, cool things. And there's plenty of other stuff on board, of course, that everyone can do together, but not the main thing your kid is going to want to do. They're not going to want to do it with you because they can't. Maybe they want to and they can't. And you guys all remember my Disney cruise as a child, my best vacation ever. My least favorite thing about that, which I specifically remember being upset about this as a little kid, was that my brother and I were in 2 different age groups for the kids clubs.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to be with my brother. My brother and I have always been close, and I wanted to do all the fun stuff with my little brother, and I couldn't do it because he hadn't aged into my group yet, and I had aged out of his. So actually, just a tip, if you are looking at doing a Disney cruise at some point with your family, maybe make sure your kids are in the same age group, like wait till they are or go before they're not, because I was really bummed by that. Like, yeah, it was cool to get to do like the Buzz Lightyear activities and stuff that I was doing, but my brother was doing other stuff, some stuff that I was jealous of, and I didn't get to do it with him. I had to make new friends.
Ugh.
It was fine. They were fine.
I would not want to do that as a kid. I'm not outgoing necessarily now, but I was even less outgoing then. I would have just stood in the corner the whole time if I was there by myself, because I don't want to talk to people that I don't know. So that would not have been fun for me. I would have been like, hey mom, can I just sit by you at the pool and watch a movie? That's what I would have done, which is what I still do now. Like, just get me an ice cream cone, sit on the pool deck and watch movies all day long. That's my perfect vacation right there.
I think the most epic thing that you can do with your family on a Disney cruise is watch the pirate show and the fireworks together, right? That's when you're going to get the magic. That's when you're going to get the feels. That's when you're going to have a good time. And, with different variations of the pirate show on different cruise lines, you know, it's fun, it's exciting, and Disney's found a way to keep it fresh.
So all of these are really great reasons that you might choose a Disney cruise over going to Disney World. Some of them might have convinced you not to do a Disney cruise over Disney World. I need you guys to know that Fry's video stopped filming, and so I'm just having to watch everybody else dance because I know that they can only show me. So you're missing out on some serious dance moves right now, but if you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. And now go watch our episode about whether or not Disney might build a 5th park. See you there.
That was so good.